Okay, here's some shortcuts and tricks to doing basic truth tables. First, we're going to make the two ones that we'll use the most often and talk about those a little bit. For every single truth table you set up that has just P's and Q's, you need to set it up the same way. Every option in this order. If P is true, then Q can be true or false in that order. And then if P is false, then Q can be true or false. If you don't set up the main part of the table this way, nothing will match the answers in the back of the book, and you won't get any credit on anything. So make sure you set it up that way. Talk about and here. So here's the two sentences that I use in class to make it make sense to people. The I love you and the I want to marry you sentences or statements, whatever you want to call them. So if somebody says to you, I love you and I want to marry you, then let's look at this. In this case, do they love you?
Yes.
Okay. And do they want to marry you?
Yes.
Yes. So yes, yes. So they're telling the truth, and they said and, so they're telling the truth all together. Okay. On this one, do they love you?
Yes.
Do they want to marry you?
No.
That's weird. So when they said I love you and I want to marry you, were they telling the truth?
No.
No, they're lying to you. So this one is false. I like lines to keep myself straight. Hopefully I won't mess this all up making my lines. This might make it worse, huh? Okay. Lines. All right. This one, do they love you?
No.
Do they want to marry you?
Yes.
That's even creepier, I think, don't you? They must just want your money or something. Okay, so they don't love you, but they do want to marry you. And they said, I love you and I want to marry you, so they're lying to you. So that one's false. This one, what's up here?
That they don't love you and they don't want to marry you.
Right, so they're just lying all over the place. So that one's definitely false. Okay, so these are the truth values for the and statements. Let's now look at the or statements. It's already set up with the truths and false going in the right direction. Okay, or in the right order. So now we're just going to look at the or. So in this case, do they love you?
Yeah.
Do they want to marry you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all good and happy, right? We're going to give that one kind of a smiley face. Okay. Do they love you?
Yes.
Do they want to marry you? Okay, so they do love you, they don't want to marry you, but were they lying to you? They said, I love you or I want to marry you. No, they weren't lying. So it's kind of a lie by implication, but it's not really a lie. So they only said or, which means only one of them has to be true. Okay, do they love you?
No.
Do they want to marry you?
Yes.
Okay. Did they lie to you when they said I love you or I want to marry you?
No.
Okay, so they didn't lie, which means they told the truth. Okay. They love you?
No.
They want to marry you?
No.
Okay. So when they said I love you or I want to marry you, were they telling the truth?
No.
No. So this one's false. So these two are kind of opposites in that when you say and, there's only one way it can be true when they're both true. And when you say or, there's a bunch of ways they can be true and only one way it can be false. So from here, these two basic things, we're going to move into bigger truth tables. Let's do this example right here. Construct a truth table for this compound statement. Okay, we're going to set everything up. We've got to set it up the same way that we did for the other one because this is just P's and Q's. I like to have a little bit of space. So there's true, 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 false, false, true, and false, false. We have to use that order or it's just not going to work out right. So then we have all this other stuff we need to have written out. And some people have specific orders they like to do things, and there's a couple different ways to do it. So let me show you just one of the ones that makes the most sense when you're beginning. Look over here. The next thing you see is not P. So we're going to need a not P column. And for me to make the not P column, and anybody who has a little bit of dyslexia going on, it's good to cover up the Q column so that you can just go across. Okay, P was true, so not P is false. P was true, not P is false. P was false, not P is true. False, not P is true. Okay, so we saw this not P. We can go right from there to this statement. The Q, what's that, and or?
Or.
or, not P. So there's Q or not P. We can go right to there. And all that is now these two. So for me, I really like to cover this stuff up because I get so distracted by everything all the time. So I cover that up. We've got the trues and falses. They're not in the order of the thing from our OR, but we can kind of have our little OR thing over here to remind us what's happening. So this one is true or false. If it's true or false, it can still be true because it's got to be either or both. So this is true. False or false is the only place where this is going to be false, is when it's false or false. True or true is true. False or true is again true. So we've done that piece. Now we need to do this with a not Q. So there's a couple different ways to do this. We can then put our not Q right here, and I'm leaving a little bit of space on purpose. So our not Q goes here, and this plate, I need to cover up all sorts of stuff on this one because there's just way too much stuff staring at me for me to be able to deal with this. So not Q, I'm covering up all that junk and this. And I got to read across for not Q. When it was true, we're going to have false. When it was false, we're going to have true. When it was true, we're going to have false. And false is going to have true. Okay, good. So next, there's two different approaches to this. The standard approach, now that we've got our not Q, we've got all our little pieces, is to go ahead and write out this Q or not P or not Q. And then we're just looking at these two things together and ORing them. So we've got true or false, which is true, and then we've got false or true, which is true, and then true or false, which is true, and then true or true, which is also true. And this would then be our final answer, which we highlight or mark in some way. Some people don't like to do that much writing, and they see right here we have everything we need to finish this. So another way that sometimes this is done is by just getting to this part, having all this stuff, and then putting the OR, move that over, in between these two things. So I don't need any of that extra stuff. I hate getting distracted. So another way of doing this is to go ahead and just put that final connector right there and looking at them this way, true or false, and that helps people sometimes with the order, is true, false or true is true, true or false is true, true or true is true. So then that would be your final column. And if you do make that your final column, you need to make sure that you indicate it either with another color or by highlighting it, saying, okay, that's my final answer. And when they're all true, this is called a tautology. I don't know if you've done that yet, which section you're in, but this is called a tautology. So there's basic truth tables. I hope this helped you out. A lot of people are helped out by having kind of their little basic truth tables just to refer to when they get nervous. And a lot of people are helped out by covering up the stuff that you don't need. Hope this helped.